Hi guys, I hope you're all well. This video, as you can tell in the title, is completely different to what I would normally post. But after 2.5 years of doing my weight loss journey, I thought it was probably very relevant to explain what eventually got me to start doing it and taking this whole process of losing weight seriously. Now, it goes back many years. Now, if we're going back to my school days when I was just a small kid, I've always been pretty much from the age of 8, double or triple the size of everybody my age group. And hence, when I was at school, I had many doctor's visits and they all told me that I needed to sort my act out and do more activities, more sport and stuff, which isn't really my cup of tea whatsoever. But obviously towards my end of school years, obviously I hadn't listened to any of the doctors and my weight obviously was still very big for my age. And obviously the doctors basically were saying if you continue the way you are, you won't see your 30th birthday. Well, that was quite a profound statement by the doctors, but again, I was a young kid, still didn't take any notice whatsoever to the doctor's warnings. Now, obviously I was 34 just a few weeks ago, and what was very interesting about those predictions, if you like, by the doctors, is just after my 30th birthday, I had some health scares, should we say, which definitely puts things into perspective about reviewing your lifestyle. So, in a nutshell, I think just about 3 years ago, when I was just over 31, so I managed to reach the 30s, obviously, but I was at an all-time low, if you like, in terms of health-wise, and I think my body was trying to give me some sort of warning. But it was extremely scary. What am I talking about? Well, early hours of the morning on one Saturday, I woke up, just popped to the loo, just got back in bed, and then the strangest of feelings started to occur. I got this feeling in the chest, and it was going down my left arm, and I honestly thought I was having a heart attack. Now, didn't do anything, just sat on the end of the bed and until the feeling subsided. It took about 30-45 minutes, but my heart was racing, and the only thing going through my head was if I had to call for an ambulance now, they would really struggle to get me down the stairs of my house because, well, you know, you can see from my first videos, I am and was a very big guy, weighed a huge amount of weight, and obviously it would just be impossible for them to get me down any stairs in case of an emergency. So I thought, well, I still got this feeling in the chest. Best thing to do is to come down to my lounge where I am now, sat on this settee, and just watch TV because I couldn't get back to sleep and the feeling was persistent. And just in case the worst thing was to happen, that if I were to call for an ambulance, I'll be right next to the front door and it would be easier for the emergency services to get me out and to the hospital. But nothing else happened that morning. In fact, when it got to about 10 o'clock in the morning, I was exhausted. The feeling had subsided a little bit, so I eventually went back to bed. And that was that. Okay, it was business as usual for me, back to eating all of the unhealthy stuff. Then, 1 week later, this time, again, it was a Saturday night. It was whilst I was again sat on this settee, and that's when I had another feeling in my chest, and again going down my left arm. I thought, I don't know what's happening, but it's extremely scary. And I asked for my mum to drive me to the accident and emergency at the hospital. I got there, I explained the symptoms to the doctor, the nurse, or should I say the receptionist. And then as soon as I just about to sit down in the waiting room, they called me straight in to see the nurse, the doctors. Anyway, so obviously they tried to take my blood pressure. Well, because I've got really big upper arms, you can't use the normal cuff to blood pressure because my arms are far too big. So they ended up having to take it around my forearm. Obviously, it did indicate that my blood pressure was absolutely sky high, and they brought me around to the bed area to do further tests. So obviously they did an ECG, they did a blood test, and they even did an X-ray. Obviously the blood test, they're looking for those markers. I don't know precisely what they're looking for, but they can look to see if your heart has been damaged due to a heart attack. And again, from an ECG, they're looking at your rhythm of your heart, etc. And obviously the same looking for in your chest X-ray as well, looking for if there's any obvious signs of damage or enlarged heart, whatever it may be looking for. I'm not an expert on this, but that's basically what they put me through. So at this point, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm in the hospital bed in A&E, and I'm waiting for my test results back. My blood test came back absolutely fine. There was no indicators there to show that I've had a heart attack. And my chest X-ray came back fine, and my ECG was also coming back fine. And basically the doctors put it down to an anxiety attack. And I said, are you sure? That because it said it felt extremely, I'm not imagining these symptoms, it was very, very physical feelings and very real to me. He says, yeah, well, the symptoms what you have basically replicate what a heart attack feels like. An anxiety attack is very similar to a heart attack in terms of feelings and the symptoms. So extremely scary. I'll never forget that one. But obviously, so I got discharged and I went back home, and that bit of a scare. Okay, yes, I started to contemplating on what if, and still wasn't really focused enough to make any changes that were required. Then 2 weeks later, this time whilst I'm at work at my desk, I have another one of these episodes. And again, I was keeping extremely calm, but didn't tell anyone in the office who I was sitting with. I just picked up the phone and I called one of my colleagues who is a first aider, and I asked to meet him in our first aid room. Again, because the officers at work are upstairs, I thought it would probably be best if I was to walk downstairs to our first aid room. Again, just in the possibility of the emergency services being called, because again, I was still a big chap, and it would be extremely difficult for anybody to get me down some stairs. So these are the things I have to think about in the event of having to call for an ambulance. I need to make sure that people would be able to get me out of the building, because it would be really tough on them to be able to lift me up and carry me out. So anyway, so I was in the first aid room and I was explaining the symptoms to my colleague. So I sat on the first aid bed until the feeling subsided, and obviously I was told by my colleague that I really should consider about going to the A&E again. I said, well, no, because I was there only a couple of weeks ago for the same thing, and they put it down to anxiety. I didn't think it was anxiety, but that's what they put it down to. And then continued working that day. Then once I finished, instead of going to A&E, I went straight back home and just went about my life as normal. And then I remember it as clear as day, a week later. So this time it's going to be the 4th time it happens. And I remember it clearly because not only is it bloody scary, it was actually the Eurovision Song Contest was on at the time. And it was about halfway through this contest when I had one heck of an episode. I had, again, a very, very strong chest chest pain, if you like, and again the feeling down the left hand arm and down the left of my neck, this time into my jaw. I felt it was a lot worse. It was a lot more severe and a hell of a lot more scary. And I thought, right, this is definitely it. I'm going to pop my clogs at this moment in time. And again, I asked my mum if she could drive me to accident and emergency at the hospital. So I saw the doctors straight away and they checked my blood pressure again, and it was massive. It was through the roof. And they said, well, we can't let you leave until your blood pressure comes down back on its own as well. So again, I went over into the A&E beds area. And again, they did blood tests, did ECG again. But whilst all this was happening, the feeling was persistent. My mouth was watering like hell due to the adrenaline that was pumping through me, but the feeling in the neck persisted, the chest, and the feeling down the arm. I honestly thought I was having a heart attack, and I honestly thought that this was going to be the end of me. I thought honestly I would not be able to leave this hospital at all. I thought I was going to peg it. And obviously the test came back, and I remember they all came back clear, but my blood pressure was still massive, and they wouldn't let me leave until about 5 o'clock in the morning. And I remember them trying to take blood, and as soon as they put the needle in, it was like a fountain just coming out my arm. It was so high. Anyway, but they put it down to a very severe anxiety attack. So it was another anxiety attack. The 4th one apparently I've had in a matter of a month and a half, about that. But this 4th anxiety attack scared the living Jesus out of me. It was so frightening that it definitely made me review my lifestyle and start making changes. So this is what it took for me to start taking my weight condition seriously, and what eventually made me to create my YouTube channel to document my weight loss journey. So this, obviously, the reason why I've done this is to help me and hopefully others try and put things into perspective of why it's so important to start a weight loss or fitness journey to make your life a lot better. And before things get out of hand. Now, I'd made things or let things get far out of hand, out of control, and my body, as a consequence to this, fired a number of warning shots across my bow. I ignored a couple of them, but the last one, boy oh boy, did I take on board, and thought if I wanted to see my 32nd birthday, and by which point remembering what the doctors told me that I wouldn't see my 30th birthday, well, their prediction, in my opinion, came extremely close to being reality. So hence the YouTube channel, doing something completely different to help keep me motivated, to keep this process alive. Again, everyone's support throughout my weight loss journey has been a tremendous help, and I thank you all very, very much for your support. It does mean a huge amount to me. But I thought, yes, start now. Like I say, if you put it off, trust me, it just making a lot more work for yourself, and the potential health consequences of this, well, you don't even want to consider or even think about what could happen there. So the sooner you start, the better, and I assure you, you'll feel a lot more better in yourself as well. But yeah, so that is the reason why I started my weight loss journey. So don't wait, start it now.